Good evening, good evening.
Sorry.
Thank you all for being here. I'm going to call this meeting to order. The September 25th meeting of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability is called to order at 6:37. I'm going to begin with a call of the roll. And I do want to ask that you place your cell phones on silent mode, remain seated, and if you will be using any small handheld devices, please refrain from using them in a way that interferes with the ability of others to see or hear the proceedings. We'll begin with Commissioner Gottlieb,
Present.
Commissioner Ruby Navarijo,
Present.
Commissioner Driver, Commissioner Minor, Commissioner Piemonte,
Present.
Commissioner Terry, who is present, Commissioner Wortham. With 4 out of 7 commissioners present, we do have a quorum to conduct the commission's business. The next item of business is public comment. If you would like to leave public comment or share something related to the commission's work on public safety and accountability, you have a few options. You can speak at a public meeting such as this tonight. You can also submit public comment in writing by emailing Community Commission for Public Safety, Community Commission Public Comment at cityofchicago.org, or you can bring a copy of your comment to one of our staff. People who have asked to speak tonight have completed a sheet and it's been provided. The names have been randomly drawn based on the number of speakers, and each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak. Today, we are encouraging community members to provide public comments about how CPD's budget and spend in the matter that's most responsive to the community. Each year, the commission is required by ordinance to review and, if needed, recommend changes to the proposed budget to review at the same time as the mayor's proposed budget for the city is made public, which is usually mid-October. The commission has to complete its review for the city council vote on the city budget, which is usually November or December. The commission's review of CPD's budget is guided by the commission's purpose listed in the ordinance: increasing public safety, building public trust between communities and CPD, increasing the efficient use of public safety resources, and encouraging preventative, proactive, community, and evidence-based approaches to public safety. Community input is always an essential component of our review process, and we've allotted 10 minutes for public comment to allow for as much input as possible on the budget, so that public comment period has increased a bit of 30 minutes. Again, if you would like to submit input regarding the CPD budget in writing, you can submit it to Community Commission Public Comment at cityofchicago.org. So our first speaker, I would ask that you come to the mic. Remember to spell your name, say and spell your name for the record. And you have 2 minutes. The first speaker we have is Brian Young Jr. The following speaker after that is T1 Sims, and then Jackie Baldwin.
Brian Young Jr., BRINYOUNGJR. I'm a community member and an organizer in the 25th District and the 31st Ward. And I'm specifically here to call on the election of a candidate that will stand firm for the CCPSA president, that will stand firm for police accountability and fight unabashedly to end pretextual stops. This moment in history represents a battle between those who want progress and more democracy for everyday people versus those who want to drag America back to the era of Jim Crow. Whether it's racist federal military occupation of DC, the possible lynching of a Black student in Cleveland, the slaying of a man by ICE in the Chicagoland suburbs, are the temperature of our windy city, which resembles the Arctic as kids are being snatched from schools by ICE agents. We Chicagoans are not folding in combat with an emboldened white supremacist order. With this, we ask you to stand with the people and the movement that birthed the ECPS ordinance and the CCPSA. We ask you to stand with the people and the movement that not only elected a progressive black mayor who's resisting the federal administration, but the masses of Chicago that act as the vanguard against police terror and ICE domination. As a member of a district that boasts a large population of black and brown working class people, we fought too hard and have come too far to sit idly by when I or any member of our community could be pulled over, incarcerated, deported, or slain. So this point needs to be made plain. Stand with the people's movement for democracy by electing a pro-police, pro-accountability, and a pro-police accountability, and a candidate who is pro-in pretextual stops. The president. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna spend my time talking about Crystal Rivera, the officer who was murdered, and Carlos Baker while he not in jail. They said COPA was taking care of it, but I've been to COPA like maybe 10 times now. No follow-up, no accountability for anything. I'm still dealing with what I'm dealing with, but we got people like Blecky finna come in here tonight and do his criminal walk and give his criminal speech as if he cares anything about law enforcement or anything about the city of Chicago, same way the young man just did. What does that apply to him? ICE. But the mayor hasn't said anything about Crystal Rivera. He surely said something about, oh, well, the slaying of the guy by ICE and the federal agents. But you have a dead officer, murdered officer, and it's been concluded as murder. To no avail. Hey, who cares though? She's just their 36-year-old mother, good cop, murdered, slain. But the cop killer is still being sponsored by Chicagoans. And y'all can do whatever y'all want with the mic. The truth still gonna be heard. I've been coming here countless times just to ask, hey, could the commission help me? I've been wrongfully arrested. Case number, once again, 25120-458-301. April 16th when I was wrongfully arrested. I've been coming here asking for help, some accountability, because it's coming from the 5th floor, from Brandon Johnson. And as individuals like this young man, Brian, comes and gives his voice, his power to what? Because none of it applies to us. We're Americans. But we're getting nothing, socioeconomics, nothing. But you're gonna use that voice, young man, because they paid you to. They wanted you to. It's a strong voice. But we still getting kicked down here. What about Crystal Rivera? I'm just saying.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jackie Baldwin. And as always, expression of gratitude to those of us in attendance tonight, because we are concerned about the budget and what happens with policing in Chicago. And gratitude to the commissioners who continue to do the work, even in the face sometimes of adversity. You know, this commission was born from decades of people showing up. We sat around tables before ECPS was passed in 2021. People of Black and Brown communities, people that represented faith communities, grassroots organizations, labor unions across all of Chicago's neighborhoods to win ECPS. Our purpose was clear then, and the purpose is clear now, to give a voice and power to those who have been most harmed. I want to thank Anthony for his service. And we do need a president that is ready to shift the narrative. Because see, last time I checked, Chicago's police officers live in this city too. And this narrative that police versus community and community versus police, I really think and hope that the next president will do something to end that. Police accountability does not mean that you don't like a person. It means that you don't like a system. And the system must always hold the people who uphold it accountable. With the budget, we need to look at a budget and make sure that that budget first supports this work and listens to the voice of people like the gentleman that just spoke. He cannot be ignored just because we cannot necessarily satisfy his request here, but he needs to be respected. So again, my time is out. We need a budget that's fair. Thank you.
Are there any additional comments or comments online? Well, thank you all. Thank you all for your comments. And so this concludes our public comment from tonight. Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes before today's meeting, an updated draft of the minutes from our commission's regular meeting of July 31st and draft meetings of the commission's regular meeting held on the 28th of August were shared with all commissioners. Are there any corrections to the draft minutes that have been circulated? If there are no corrections, I move to approve the minutes.
Second that motion.
I've moved to approve the minutes of the July 30th and August 28th commission meetings, and Commissioner Ruby Navarrijo has seconded. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor of adopting the motion to approve the minutes of the commission's meetings held on July 31st and August 28th, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion passes. Our next order of business will be new business. The next is a series of public closed meetings for Section 2C3 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act allows the commission to meet in a closed session to consider the following subjects: the selection of a person to fill a public office as defined in this act, including vacancy in a public office when the public body is given power to appoint under law or ordinance, or the discipline, performance, or removal of the occupant of a public office when the public body is given power to remove the occupant under law or ordinance. Section 2A of the Act authorizes the commission to take a vote to hold a series of closed meetings over the course of not more than 3 months from today, and only for the purposes cited under Section 2C3. Over the next few months, the commission may need to meet in closed sessions for reasons that are allowed under the Open Meetings Act, including discussions about appointments and filling vacancies. I move to hold a series of closed meetings to take place for the maximum period allowable as authorized by Section C23 or Section 2C3 of the Opens Meeting Act. Is there a second?
Second.
I've moved to hold a series of closed meetings to take place for the maximum period allowable as authorized by Section C3 of the Opens Meetings Act. Commissioner Piamonte has seconded. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All of those in favor of holding a series of closed meetings to take place, the maximum period allowable as authorized by Section 2C3 of the Opens Meetings Act, please signify by saying aye. Okay, the ayes have it. The motion passes. At the commission's August meeting, Commissioner Driver announced that he will be stepping down as commission president. According to our bylaws, nominations for commission officers happen in one meeting and the election to fill the position happen in the subsequent meeting. Today, we'll be making nominations to fill the vacancy created by Commissioner Driver stepping down. At our October meeting, we will vote to elect a new commission president. Do we have any nominations?
I want to introduce a motion to nominate Ramel Terry to the role of president for the Community Commission on Public Safety and Accountability.
Motion received from Commissioner Ruby Navarro for Commissioner Ramel Terry. Do we have any additional nominations?
Yes, so I'm gonna motion to nominate Commissioner Javier Minor.
And we have a nomination from Commissioner Aaron Gottlieb to nominate Commissioner Abier Minor. Do we have any additional nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed, concluding with Commissioner Ramel Terry and Commissioner Abier Minor. Our next order of business will be reports and updates. We will begin with an update regarding the commission's process for developing recommendations on the CPD budget. And I'll turn it over to Commissioner Gottlieb.
Thank you, President Terry. Need a mic. Thank you, President Terry. And thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts on the budget during public comment. So as Commissioner Terry said earlier, by ordinance, the commission is required to review and if needed, recommend changes to the proposed CPD budget appropriation every year before the city council votes on it. Since the commission was formed in 2022, budget reports have highlighted the commission's identified priority areas for strategic investments in CPD's budget. In prior years, the commission has made recommendations on priorities such as workforce allocation, community policing, officer wellness, and reducing legal judgments. As Commissioner Terry said earlier, the commission doesn't receive the proposed CPD budget until it is made public, which is usually in mid-October. We have a short time to conduct the review. So before the proposed budget is released, we look back at previous budgets and at budget-related issues that commissioners have focused on and issues that have come up in public comments and in other community input that the commission has received. And based on that, we developed some preliminary priorities. This year, the commissioners have selected 4 areas as preliminary priorities in our review of the proposed 2026 budget. These topics include support for the Bureau of Detectives and Investigations, consent decree policy implementation, CPD vacancies and resource allocation, and legal judgments and risk assessment. These priorities may expand or change once we received the actual CPD budget for the proposed budget for 2026. Once the city's proposed budget for 2026 is released, if you have additional feedback on the budget overall or any of these 4 priority areas, please email the commission at communitycommissionpubliccomment@cityofchicago.org. Again, we usually have a short amount of time to review the proposed budget from the time it is introduced until it is voted on. So if you have additional issues you would like us to consider, please submit them as soon as possible after the budget is in.
Thank you, Commissioner Gottlieb. Are there any questions from the commission? Hearing none. Next, we'll hear from, Commissioner Piemonte regarding an update on traffic stops.
On April 21st, the city of Chicago submitted 2 versions of a draft traffic stops policy to the Illinois Attorney General and the independent monitor in the consent decree between the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. One version is from CPD and one is from the commission. The commission's version includes most of the language from CPD's version, but with some important changes that a majority of commissioners think are very important. The policies were submitted to the Attorney General and the independent monitor because more than a year ago, the independent monitor recommended to the judge in the consent decree case that traffic stops by Chicago Police Department be included in the consent decree. That would mean that changes to CPD's traffic stops policy would be made through the procedures laid out in the consent decree and would be overseen by the independent monitor and the federal judge in the case. On July 31st of 2025, the commission voted on several items intended to provide direction to the Policy Working Group, which consists of Sandra Worthingham and Commissioner Terry. The CPD Policy Working Group Commissioners. Can you hear me? All right. The CPD Policy Working Group Commissioners are using these established positions and continue to work on policy development with CPD and represent the commission in the traffic stop consent decree negotiations. The commission also continues to gather feedback from community because it is an essential part of the commission's policy development process. And until the policy is completed, we want to hear from community. Over the past year, the commission held many meetings focused on traffic stops. That has included a special meeting, 5 community listening sessions throughout the city, and focus groups with youth justice impacted organizations, disability community, and law enforcement. Commissioners have also met with subject matter experts from around the country. Additionally, the commission provided opportunities for input at its public meetings and through online surveys and feedback forms. All this information is being considered during the policy development process. The commission is always looking to improve these efforts to ensure all voices are heard and welcomes any suggestions you may have for community engagement around policy development. The Policy Working Group represents the commission in negotiations on police department policies. All commission working groups take direction from the full commission and work on behalf of the full commission. On September 12th, Commissioner Terry and Commissioner Worthingham met with representatives from the independent monitoring team. The Office of Attorney General, the City of Chicago, including Department of Law and the CPD. In that meeting, the stakeholders continued the traffic stop consent decree negotiation and will continue to be involved as the negotiation continues. This group will meet again mid-October.
Thank you, Commissioner Piemonte. Are there any questions from the commission? Hearing none, now I would like to provide an update on the COPA search. Just a reminder that the application for the Chief Administrator of COPA has been posted. That application is open until October 3rd. The commission is looking for a strong and principled leader with integrity and sound judgment to serve as the next chief of COPA. COPA plays a critical role in the city's accountability system. It is an independent civilian-led agency that investigates and makes disciplinary recommendations whenever an officer fires a gun and whenever someone dies or is seriously injured while detained or in police custody. So COPA also investigates and makes disciplinary recommendations about the most serious allegations of police misconduct, including excessive force, sexual misconduct, improper searches, and bias-based verbal abuse. In addition to investigating serious incidents, COPA identifies patterns of misconduct and issues policy recommendations to strengthen public trust and improve policing practices. The next COPA chief will lead a team of about 140 professionals across investigative, legal, and administrative divisions, assuring that investigations are fair, thorough, timely, while also driving systemic reforms. The chief will work to build constructive relationships with law enforcement and community stakeholders. Ideal candidates will be attorneys or experienced investigators with significant expertise in criminal, civil rights, or labor law, or in law enforcement oversight. The commission continues to receive feedback from community as to what they would like to see in the next COPA chief. In addition to hosting 4 public listening sessions, we met with youth, justice impacted organizations, and members of law enforcement and subject matter experts in police accountability. All this feedback will be used to inform our evaluation of candidates. We hope you continue to engage with us in this process. Are there any questions from the commission? Now we will move on to a presentation from the Mayor's Office of Community Safety regarding the city's plan for the potential increase in federal activities, including ICE and National Guard activities. Hi, welcome.
Good evening. How are you? Good.
Yes.
I'll just introduce myself. Again, my name is Jason Sanford with the Mayor's Office of Community Safety, first deputy mayor there. And again, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate getting here and listening to the comments. It's something that's very, very important to me. I know it is to our office. We strive always to build that trust with the community. And so I'm very, very important. And I want to thank, first of all, thank the commission and everybody for, excuse me, for the invite to come here today. So if I can start just to say that, man, we are really in some really challenging times, right? Absolutely amazing, right? You can turn on your news and see what's going on. And this is something that you just see obviously, the possibility of ICE, the possibility of the National Guard coming in a way that has never been done before. So this is something that it's very personal to all of us here. And I'm very glad to come and to speak about it and to put it into context a little bit. Again, tell you a little bit about myself also, where I'm coming from. So I used to work a few years back for the state of Georgia. Have you ever been to Georgia before, in any kind of states or, around that way in Florida? And I'll tell you what, does anyone know what is probably one of the most biggest kind of hazards for that area by chance? Any guess? Usually it's around the coast and it usually comes seasonal. It's called hurricanes, right? So when I went down there and I was actually down, I was in Atlanta and we had to go make sure that all the regions are ready in the state. It was with the state of Georgia. So we were ready for hurricanes and everyone was ready for their emergency management and everyone was ready for disaster, right? So we had to go down to, if you know, story, there's, Rome, Georgia, there's Athens, Georgia, there's Savannah, Georgia, which is beautiful if you've never been there, because obviously it looks like New Orleans and that whole southern vibe. So we went down, I was actually heading down to Savannah, Georgia to tell them about this really nice plan that we had in the state. And it was about hurricane evacuation. One of the things you always want to make sure of is that grandma and grandpa don't evacuate from Savannah and they're circling around Macon in the middle of Georgia, circling around the Waffle House somewhere, not knowing where to go. You want to make sure grandma and grandpa's okay, right? And so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make sure everybody's okay. And so I went down to Savannah. I was talking to emergency manager, make sure they know what the police are doing, make sure they know about the emergency management, make sure the fire knows, everyone, EMS, they have the right ambulances to pick up grandma if she needs to go out of the nursing home, all that kind of stuff that goes into planning. And I went down, we had a big meeting and we were sitting around, I was sitting with the Chatham County EMA, which is the county there in Savannah along the coast. And I remember talking to him like, this is our plan. This is a great plan. We went a lot of, into it. And I wanted to take a look. And I remember him taking it, throwing it at me and turning his back on me. And he was just like, you know what? I am not going to, how dare the state to tell us what to do? We are the county and we are in charge of our county. We are a home rule state. And that was something I always remember because you know what? It was true. Now, right away, I thought we're going to start building relationships going back and building over time because that's what it's really always about, is building relationships, building those partnerships. But, he had an interesting point, and it kind of reminded me of what we're going through today. It's this whole home rule thing and state or federal coming in and imposing themselves on what a system that has been created. The Federalists created a system intentionally for home rule, for people to know what's going on. The people who are local, they have the relationships you need for businesses. They have the relationships you need to keep people safe. And we're actually in times these days that is not giving the same amount of respect that what is intentional for. So you see this federal kind of imposition coming in on us. And that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you today about, is when it comes to the city of Chicago, we have things that make us unique. And so a little bit about the city of Chicago and what we're dealing with today and what was mentioning, including ICE and National Guard, is I wanted to mention that the city of Chicago upholds what's called the Welcoming City Ordinance. And if you've heard of it, I wanted to talk about, this is an ordinance that allows Chicago to be proud of our diversity, meaning if that means ethnically, racially, religiously, if you like your pizza thin, if you like it thick pizza and like Chicago style, It's what makes us diverse. It's our diversity that we're able to recognize, look through and recognize, and then make sure that person is very important. So this is what makes us, this city of Chicago welcome city ordinance. The mayor's office of community safety, which, I'm first deputy with, it has a strategy which is rooted in showing up for those who have been historically disinvested in. Chicago will remain a safe place for all those different backgrounds. The welcoming city ordinance applies to all those city government, including the Chicago Police Department. Okay. The ordinance prohibits any city employee from asking about or assisting in investigation of immigration status of anyone, unless ordered or do so by the court of federal law. So there are exceptions, right? It prevents the city services from being denied to anyone based on their immigration status. And it prohibits local law enforcement from participating in and cooperating with federal immigration enforcement. Now I'm going to repeat that again because it's really important about this welcoming city ordinance, right? The welcoming city ordinance prohibits local law enforcement from participating in or cooperating with federal civil immigration enforcement. Very, very important. Unless they are required to do so by a court of a federal law. So since the beginning of the federal administration, immigrants have remained a target for the president, with enhanced federal enforcement operations across the country, nationwide protests and unlawful deployments in other states. One example, as you've seen probably in the news, was California. And I can tell you this as a former federal employee under Department of Homeland Security, that this is very, very true, that this federal administration has targets, and that is immigrants and an enhanced federal enforcement operations across this country like we've seen against protesters. It's not the 60s, right, when they were sent in to protect protesters. It's the other way around this time. So yet, I want to go back. The mayor's office of community safety and all the city government have remained diligent, to address residents and to equip individuals with the necessary information that they need. The mayor's office has remained in communication with the state and local partners to prepare for any and all threats from the federal government. So we continue to stay in conversation with them. We continue to talk to them. Some of these talks are every day, a couple times a day, every week. We're staying in communication with our state partners against any kind of threats that would happen with the federal administration. Chicago has never received any formal communication from the federal administration regarding these deployments. Do not call us directly and say, hey, this is where we're going to go to. We're going to show up over on National. We're going to do this. We're not told about this. They are not communicating. We have not received any formal communication. Actually, in late August, as a mere proactive measure, the mayor's office of community safety released the following infographic that you see up here. And this is what I really wanted to talk about with you. And we released this with our partnerships with the Office of Equity and Racial Justice, Immigration, Migrants, and Refugee Rights, and the Department of Law at the mayor and the mayor's press conference. So I wanted to show you this this infographic up here. So if you go even to the slides or you want to press it, this is actually information. If you haven't seen this before, we have the presentation. Please send it out to your members. You can also get it on our website. I would be happy to answer, ask questions, answer any questions even after this. I'm going to give you my information so you can contact me about it. But this is actually information what we do. You can advance next slide too as well. Again, the city of Chicago does not support any unlawful deployment of military troops to the U.S. in any of these U.S. cities. This is very important. As you can see, now we'll go into this a little bit further eventually, but you can see homicides are down, shootings are down, violent crimes are down. Guess what is also down today? Arrests. Arrests are down. Now think about it. If arrests are down and violent crimes are down, it's not just, that shows you that it's not just because people are arresting more. It's not just policing, right? It's actually the crimes themselves are going down. So you hear in the news the justification to come in. Obviously, that's not true. Crimes are going down. So you can actually see, again, we must sustain our progress as we continue to strengthen and commit in our community efforts. Again, this is what the mayor's office, community safety is all about, building trust. Like I said back in my story, it's always about building trust. Community must be a part of this, not what you're seeing at the federal level. Continue on the next slide. And continue next slide. Again, these are an infographic that you can be shared, is shared in different languages. It's made sure that you understand it's based on knowing your rights as an individual. The city or state does not have the direct authority over federal agencies, just so you know. So again, these are the different, we could go through all the different slides, but I want to actually get this in your hand is the most important part, because these are important tools, as you mentioned, that the mayor's office want to make sure that you have to strengthen against any kind of federal threat. Now, I want to continue to go on. This up here is due to an urgent collaboration that we had amongst our teams, that we had the opportunity to equip Chicagoans, me and you, with helpful information in these times that we have never seen before. As you can see, the infographics continue to highlight an approach to safety through investment in people. Chicago's experiencing its historic declines, as you've said, in crime, because this approach is working. It's a national approach. It is scientifically based approach that is based in the community, and it's working. As we will continue to show up for Chicagoans in the whole of government. So it's not just police, it's not just fire, it's community-based organizations, it's immigrants and refugee rights, it's nonprofit organizations. We're all working together. It's churches, faith-based organizations, mosques, everybody working together, pastors sitting next to people who are government workers. That's the only way these things are we're going to be able to handle this, and it's working. The main priority is our communication, and these are based off questions that we already received, so I wanted to make sure this is specifically for concerns. The main priority of our communication is to provide residents with information on how to stay safe, urging everyone, this is important, I just mentioned the last slide, urging everyone not to intervene with federal operations, exercising your First Amendment rights, delivering information around knowing your rights, welcome city ordinance, as we already discussed, and homelessness rights. Knowing your rights is very important with this. And one of those points I just mentioned, urging everyone not to interfere with federal operations. Now, the message clearly states that, and this is to the policing, which is the Office of MOX or Mayor's Office of Community Safety has oversight over. The message clearly states the Chicago Police Department does not assist, interfere, or intervene with any federal immigration enforcement. I'm going to say that again. It's really important. If you have a pen, write it down or get this infographic. Again, it states that the Chicago Police Department does not assist, they cannot assist federal agents, they cannot interfere. Both are just as important. They cannot intervene with any federal immigration enforcement. That's what the laws, that's what the ordinance, that's what the executive orders have given. That's what the Welcome City ordinance also gives. So I just wanted to make that clear. Lastly, with this infographic, I wanted to point out to all you some really, really good, helpful, resources, that this is something that will empower you, including what's called the ICCR website, the City of Chicago's website. These are all information that has palm cards, frequently asked questions. All these things if you think you've asked a question, guess what? Somebody probably already asked too. So these are frequently asked questions that I wanted to share with you today. These are all information along with, I also wanted to share a number. So if you have a pen and paper, get your pen out real quick. I'm going to give you a number. This is one of those numbers that actually what we take, it's a hotline. And this hotline is able to identify and help. If you think you see ICE, this is a hotline you call, you can report it. And then they can also confirm, you might see something that looks like ICE, but it isn't ICE, right? So this is a number and a hotline I wanted to give you. This hotline is for the Illinois Coalition for Immigration and Refugee Rights. Very important number here. Your number is 855-435-7693. And I'm going to say that one more time. This is the hotline to report and confirm ICE-related incidents. This is the Illinois Coalition for Immigrants and Refugee Rights. This is who we work partnership. Again, it's not just government, it's everybody working together. All of community, whole of community. It's 855-435-7693. So I wanted to give you those information. Again, those are resources that you want to have. I want to thank you again for your time. I wanted to thank you again for this opportunity and thank the board. I want to thank the commission for this opportunity. I'll be in the back in the other side of the theater afterwards if you have any questions. But again, I just appreciate your time and appreciate your comments today and know that we're standing and doing everything with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanford. If you could hold so we can see if any commissioners have questions. So Commissioner Godley.
Thanks, and thanks for your presentation. I appreciate it. And yeah, I wanted to try to get a bit more clarity on sort of the city's position about sort of how they're directing CPD around this sort of federal intervention. So you mentioned, for instance, with ICE that there are some circumstances, it's not the norm, but there are certain circumstances when CPD is expected to cooperate with ICE. What are those circumstances?
So like I mentioned in the speech, so there are circumstances where the federal court would give an order. But other than that, again, the stance of the city is that CPD cannot interfere with, nor can they assist with any type of, sorry, the mic, any type of federal immigration
So like
deployment.
thank you. So like if for instance, let's say ICE asks for an address and claims it's because of some sort of criminal activity, is CPD supposed to provide that address to ICE because of the claim of criminal activity? Do they actually vet the extent to which the threat is credible? Because this administration doesn't always tell the truth. So how does that work?
Well, respectfully, I don't want to get necessarily into, hypotheticals, but I do know that, again, unless there's that court order, then, and the city of Chicago ordinance, like I mentioned, does not allow for any city employee to release information, unless there's that federal court order. So we do have a legal team that also is assisting on every situation. But that's something that obviously, like you said, we're dealing with unprecedented times. And so we definitely stick to say that CPD will not assist, absolutely not, in any federal deployment of immigration. So.
Commissioner Minor.
Hello. Can you all hear me? Pause 1 second.
For the record, Commissioner Minor is present.
Thank you. I need my mic on.
Green, mic.
Hello, sound. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for the recommendations for the role. I am present. I want to know what kind of communication can we look forward to if there was some kind of national deployment of troops in Chicago streets?
I think that what the communication is always going to stick to that. We have, again, when a situation occurs, we have the Welcome to City ordinance. It makes sure that we recognize the uniqueness of Chicago. We have something that's very unique Chicago makes us, and that is that our ordinance protects and it makes sure that we do not assist at all in that. So if a situation occurs, then I think that we'll give that assessment at that time. Like for instance, the hotline that I gave out, that's really important. So whatever communication comes out on a situation, like there's situations right now, if you haven't seen the news, that ICE are everyone around in the city and outside the city. So we actually work with all of government. We work with immigration rights. We work with CASER or ICER, which is, again, the number that I gave you. They're the ones that are able to confirm if a sighting is, or to also track and find out what exactly was going on. So we're relying a lot on our community partners for that communication. And that's why it's really important that you're here too. So if you see something, what do? You call the number, you report it out. What we like to call also in like emergency management and public safety is force multipliers. If you ever heard of that. But what is really good is we'll communicate to somebody, and you'll communicate to your force, and they'll communicate to your church, and your church your pastor will communicate to their congregation. And that's how we get the word out. So that's the type of communication that will come into place at that time, so that everyone is well informed, that we're of course being again, we're working with, like I mentioned in the statement, we're also working and we're communicating every day with the state and with our partners. So that's nothing much is going to change that. We've been continuing to work, and we're going to continue to work, continue to communicate that.
Thank you. Commissioner Ruby Navarino.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I just knew that there's been some concerns around protecting the data of our undocumented folks in the city. A lot of undocumented people access services for the city. To the extent that you can you address how the city might be, whether that's the law department or other departments, are working to protect that sort of information? If not, we can follow up about that. But I do have another question after this, if that's all right.
Yeah, I know the Welcome City Ordinance does prohibit any sharing of information unless there's a court order. So that's absolutely sure.
And the second question, maybe it's not maybe a question, but more of a comment. I know that we have immigration liaison officers that work for community policing. Has there been any conversation, whether that's like the Office of Community Safety or the mayor's office in general, on how to support those officers? I think there's only 2 officers for the entire city working on immigration matters. And the reason why I say that is it's important that the relationship, the trust building that's been going on with the Chicago Police Department and the community isn't affected by what's going on to the extent that we can. So
Yeah.
is there any conversations about supporting them a little more, or expanding their capacity, or requesting that sort of support?
Yeah, Commissioner,
City
you,
Council?
no, you said it perfectly. I mean, it's, that trust is just going to be so damaging to what's going on. Hopefully our communication that we're doing. That is not to escape your question or nothing, but that obviously that's a CPD question, and I don't want to answer on their behalf on that one specifically. That would be something that they would address. But I do know that we would support, obviously, building that trust in the community, because everything that we're seeing in the news is just eroding away. The one biggest thing in our world and our life is trust, even trust in government. So the big rhinoceros in the room that they always told us that the naval postgraduate is about to look at you is trust. People are eroded away their trust in government more and more. And this just seems just like going really quick now that the new federal, administration is in DC. And so we support building trust. And that's what Mox is doing, building trust, being in the community, lowering those rates. Hopefully people understand, and we're all working together. That's the only way that we're going to do this, is continue to build our trust. And with the other part of that question, I would refer to CPD for that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanford, for being here and giving us this overview. So I know there's been a lot of questions and concerns.
Question. No, go ahead. I have a question, but no. Okay.
So I know there's a lot of questions and concerns about, law enforcement involvement with supporting ICE. We've heard some of those questions here from the commission. But what I continue to hear you talk about is this partnership and working together and the policies that are in place to protect people. So can you share a little bit about how it has been, or what process you have in place in working with the Chicago Police Department to ensuring that you all are collaborative in, balancing out the ordinance and things of that nature that are already on the books?
Yeah, the Mayor's Office of Community Safety continue to work and communicate also. Our Deputy Mayor, Garen Gatewood, continues to talk to the superintendent absolutely like all the time. So, I mean, it's really a really good partnership right now. So when it comes to just making sure that what happens or what isn't being, making sure that CPD is it continues to fall in line with this Welcome City ordinance. Is just that it's the Welcome City ordinance that it gives us the guidance that we need on that. So not only that, we have there's the executive order that was signed too in case situations that happen, given a little bit more detail, like CPD would in that situation be uniformed up, in the blues, so that you can distinguish what's going on. This federal kind of really weird federal thing where they wear the masks and you don't know what's going on, that kind of thing. But CPD is very much understand where they are. Again, unless there's a specific instance where that needs to be under some kind of investigation offside, but it's not immigration related. So
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
have one question? Okay. Yes.
Thank you again. So I wanted to go back to the National Guard real quick. So, I mean, there has been sort of on and off sort of threats about it for at least a month, I'd say. And I understand not wanting to share maybe publicly exactly what the strategy would be, but given that there's been some time to think about it, has some sort of plan been developed and shared with the agencies who would be directly impacted by the National Guard's presence, that they're prepared if in fact the National Guard does come?
Yeah, first of that is that, again, like I mentioned, we have not received any direct communication from the federal government saying any kind of deployment or immigration. They are completely silent, just like under the first time that the president was there under COVID, it went silent. So, but that's it. Now, regarding plans, obviously, yes, we are continuing to talk, and we're not just talking to talk, but we're making sure that we're ready. It's a lot of again, public safety and law enforcement. They usually use the term "lean forward," and it's a stance that came after post Katrina. If you remember Katrina, is that people are like, "Yeah, we'll do it when it comes," but when people weren't ready, leaning forward. But now it's like we're posturing, we're ready. And so that's the posture that we're at. The city is well ready. We're already communicating. It's not like all of a sudden something's going to happen. Like, oh my gosh, who do I call? We're already in talking, and we're already talking with our state.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to probably having your office out again to give us further updates.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So at this time, we're going to move towards adjournment of this meeting. To connect with the Community Commission for Public Safety via our social media, we have Facebook, and you can search Chicago CCPSA, or you can search for Chicago Community Commission for, not Chicago, Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. Our Instagram, Twitter is CCPSA_Chicago, and YouTube at Chicago CCPSA. The commission's next regular meeting will be Thursday, October 30th at 6:30. The location is the Copernicus Center at 5216 West Lawrence. I would like to thank you all again for your time and for joining us tonight. We hope to see you on October 30th, and we encourage you to bring someone with you. And we hope you'll stay engaged and have others join you, as I've already stated. And with there being no further business before the commission, this meeting is adjourned.